everyone. Welcome. June the 4th, the first show of June. Good to see you all. And of course, it is Pride Month. So I've changed the logo. I've got a nice little flag in the background, but I do want to do more than these kind of token gestures. But welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're all well and have been enjoying the good weather. I've enjoyed it a little bit too much, although hay fever is absolutely kicking my bum at the moment. Hay fever 1, me nil. Tristan is here. Good morning, Tristan. I do want to start with this reminder. I look back through the comments after the show, and Dan, if you're watching, I don't know why yours never seem to show. I promise you, I'm not ignoring you, my friend. Please just refresh your LinkedIn, and hopefully they will start coming through. Hey, help! Here he is, the man himself. Saw that nice video of you on LinkedIn this morning, Chris. I loved it. Seeing you in action at your forthcoming conference and awards. I think 27th of June, is it? You give that a shout out. Great event, looks brilliant. So good to see you. Let's start with what's going to be a hard punching episode today. We're not gonna avoid some of the big questions. The first one, and I'm super jazzed about this, is with a month to go. It is a month until the general election. I have to say I'm buzzing. I'm devouring content. I was listening to a great podcast before the show started called The News Agents with Emily Mattis, John Matthews, and another chap, I can't remember his name. But I am devouring the content. So with a month to go, what are your thoughts about the general election? Are you looking forward to it? Has it got people in your contact center talking, or are you I'm not that fussed? What is everybody thinking with a month to go? A long time ago, this was what my degree was in, actually. So hence maybe that's one of the reasons why I am super excited about it. But Alright, there he is. G'day, mate. Peter. Oh, lovely to see his smiling, happy face there. What is everyone thinking about the general election? Bit of a different question, and I don't want to start any arguments. Healthy debate, yes. Arguments, no. But with a month to go, what are your thoughts about the general election? Is it something that you're interested in? Nathan is here. Hello, Nathan, my friend. Good morning. Good morning. Lovely picture there. Are you mountaineering there? Great picture. Not even getting involved in that kind of worms. Neris is here. Morning. I am more obsessed with American politics, but love news agents, and the rest is politics. It was looking like it was going to be a whitewash, but then a fly was put in the ointment yesterday. Yes, very true. The return of Nigel Farage. I'm going to try and keep my own views out of this for the time being. But yes, that was it's interesting. It's super interesting. That was taken whilst camping in the back garden during COVID. Oh, we all did things like that, Nathan, didn't we? Yeah, great picture. But Neris, like you, I love American politics. And the News Agents USA is another good one as well. I kind of flip between the two. The rest is politics I really like, because you've got Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell, haven't you? Two people that are on either ends of the spectrum, the political divide, let's say, who maintain like a discourse. You know, those sorts of days. I wish we were back in those kind of days where people had mutual respect for each other. But it seems that those days are gone. I knew this. I knew this question might either lead to tumbleweed or just unleash a tirade of insanity. Rory is your celebrity wrong. I think I know what that means. That's always an interesting one. Yeah, it's very, very erudite guy, isn't he? Very interesting to listen to. Hello, Keith. How you doing? Either party, the financial institutions and big businesses will continue to run the show. Yeah, it's interesting when you look at donations and the power behind the power. Some fascinating stuff goes on there. I think it will be interesting to see what happens to public sector services during PERDA and after someone new comes in. Yeah, you would like to hope that that will be a key focus area, because they are in dire need of some investment and some support, and I would suggest direction as well. So I know I am glued to this stuff at the moment, and I'm really encouraged by how interested it seems younger people are. You know, for many, it's their first opportunity to vote. My daughter turns 18 the day after the CCMA Awards, and is very excited about voting. So it's often something we overlook, but there is a general interest. It would seem. It's hard to say. I don't know what you think. Um, Peter, I'm sick of where we are, but I don't expect much to change. Well, let's hope. I think let's hope. You know, there's change. Certainly seems to be the order of the day. The public opinion and the polls. YouGov did a poll yesterday, which was the first one, over 10,000 people, I think, and it showed that there is certainly going to be a change. Morning. Look forward to voting, but longing for change. Proportional representation. Yes, I've always been a big fan of that, Scott. It's strange that this first past the post system doesn't, I don't think, help us get a balanced view of what's going on. Neris says, God, I forgot about PERDA. Running public services in contact centres at party change time and when there are PMQs is a nightmare. But thank goodness for PERDA to give you a bit of prep time. Please elaborate, Nathan or Neris. What is PERDA? Um, as is always the way in this show, every show is an opportunity for us to learn. So if you could explain what PERDA is, that would be great. I kind of jumped straight in. I was too enthusiastic, but of course, I would like to thank my partners, DDC, Evaluagent, and OneCom. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do this. And also, of course, people like the Forum and BPA Quality, represented by Peter and the legend that is Chris. Peter, you're also a legend, by the way. Hi, Shannon. I work with a number of contact centers within the public sector, and you can definitely see the hesitation when it comes to investing in software to improve the contact centers, likely down to the concern around funding. Oh, I see. Yeah, of course, it's a consideration I certainly overlook, and thank you for sharing that. Nathan, it's a moment of pause when public sector do almost nothing in the run up. Wow, of course, because of the change, much like the civil service. And one thing that I think we often also overlook is that there's a number of legislation going through that is just stopped. It's just shelved. And look, I'll put it out there. I am no supporter of our current government, but some of the legislation that was going through had cross-party support, and that's just stopped. Hello, Darren. Something needs to change. I think there's been enough public showing from the Tories of what they think people want and need, rather than actually listening and fixing the issues. Not that I'm that close to it, but it feels like it's time for a change. Yeah. Oh, good, 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 good. Yes, I'm all for that. So you've noticed some of the trappings around here, and I said I wanted to do more than tokenism for supporting members of the LGBTQ plus community that work within our contact centers, and I need your help. To that end, um, in Pride Month, I'd like to invite someone onto the show to talk about the LGBTQ plus community and what our industry is doing for this community, or what life is like, or how they find our contact centers. Because I know personally, I've always thought that our industry sometimes has been ahead of society in that it's very inclusive, it's very diverse. Certainly, the contact centers I've worked in, no one really cares about any of those types of challenges. However, I'm aware that I'm talking from my own perspective, and it's very, very different lived experience to people from uh, minority backgrounds, minority groups, including the LGBTQ plus community. I would love to hear what's going on, what is happening, whether they feel that their voice is being heard, and what more can be done, but also to champion some of the good stuff that's going on. Peter, Pete Dunn can testify to this, but certainly where I used to work at BPA, I felt like we were definitely on the right lines of what we were doing. We had a committee populated by all sectors of the company, and where we would talk about issues, and that included senior leadership in there, so they could hear from people who might want to see the company do more, do less, start being more inclusive. So within Pride Month, I'd love to invite somebody onto the show to talk about that. So maybe there's somebody you guys know who would jump at the chance to come in and talk about this key part of not just the contact center world, but our society. You know, I want to educate myself more, um because I would say sometimes it's hard to keep up, and there is a I certainly feel a fear of saying the wrong thing, because I'm not up to date with some of the current issues. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Are you doing something right now in your contact center that you think is going down well? And has it been led by members of this community? What are your thoughts? Are we doing enough? Are we in a good place? Is there more that we could do? Like I said, this show, it just seems like we're doing everything. We're doing politics, um, anything but me mentioning my award, right? Well, oh, I said I wasn't going to do it today. I made myself a little promise, but so yes, when it comes to uh, the representation and the voice that we give members of the LGBTQ plus community, what do you think? Are we in a good place? Should we be doing more? I would love to get your thoughts, and I invite somebody out. I would love to hear from somebody coming on the show, and just we can have a chat about what life is really like. Oh, Amanda's here. Hi, Amanda. Morning. I agree. I found working in the call and contact center industry to be more diverse and inclusive and ahead in comparison to other sectors I've worked in. That's certainly been my experience going all the way back to 1995. Um, there's seemingly no issues, but like I say, I'm the caveat is that is from the perspective of a white, now very much middle-aged heterosexual guy. So my lived experience is going to be very different to those of other communities. So I would love, but I agree. Um, and certainly people I spoke to from within that community who I'm friends with, I was friends with, said that actually sometimes work was coming into the contact center was a respite to some of the more negative things that they faced. Hello. Hello. I'm hoping comments are coming through okay, but I would love to get your thoughts. And like I say, maybe there's somebody you could recommend that I get in touch with to see if they can come on the show. Talking of coming on the show, and I'm not sure if he's with us today, but pencil in, hopefully it's there already, but pencil in next week, because Maurice Pentel, Get Out of Rap X, Gal X, is back. And Morris is going to give us a little 10 minutes on customer confusion, perhaps a new measure for us for being able to move customer satisfaction and NPS and CSAT on to something that can elicit great results both for us and for our customers. And that is the concept of customer confusion. So this should be fascinating. I hope you can all make it. But yes, Get Out of Rap X is on again next week. And again, another invitation. The invitation is if you would like to come on and do a little stint, and I'm thinking about you guys that have made comments already. I know you've got some huge knowledge that we would all benefit from. If you would like to come on and do a 10-minute segment in the show, please do. Just get in touch with me on LinkedIn and we'll arrange it. But I'm really pleased that next week Morris is going to be doing something on confusion. And if you want to get abreast of something that is relatively new, pretty new in our industry as a concept, this is the place to do it. So now it's time for our real question. And it was one that was brought up last week and was suggested that we do today. And that is, our industry is changing. How do these changes impact your thoughts on offshoring? So, as a bit of a tangent last week, we had some real thoughts around, or some people shared some pretty strong opinions on offshoring and what they were seeing. And is it back and is it going to be bigger than ever? Is it the same? Actually, it's going to reduce. And there was definitely a link with AI. And there was some reports recently about AI being able to over or sit on the top of an agent's voice. Um, Again, some real touchy subjects, I guess, but kind of in inverted commas, westernizing some of the vernacular that people were using, and also, of course, AI agents. So, how do you think these changes, and maybe specifically technology changes, are going to impact where we sit with offshoring? It's always been a big topic, one that's led to a lot of debate. Where are you guys now when it comes to offshoring? Are you seeing the same amount? Do you think there's more of an appetite to consider offshoring? Do you think it is dangerous to our UK based contact centers? Is this something that we should be concerned about, or does this competition kind of drive our efficiencies and make us better? Where do you sit in this question of offshoring? A good thing, a bad thing? What are your thoughts? And whilst you are typing, hopefully, I'm going to have a quick bit of coffee. I think maybe have I? It's already been too much. It's been too much for some people today's show. We've done politics, we've done LGBTQ plus, and now we're going into offshoring. What does everybody think? Hugo's coming in to have a little word. That's a big stretch, buddy. Back to your general election question, says Chris. Company taxation and profitability. The result of that will drive decisions, I reckon. It's always been a bit cyclical, but spiraling costs may force the hand of some organization for better or worse. Yeah, very true. Some of the drivers that go into the decisions we make around this time of year, very important. Good call out, Chris. Oh, Neris, I knew I could rely on you to give a better terminology for the one that I was mangling. With accent neutralization, real time for voice and translation services on digital channels, then it's very likely there will be another shift to the much cheaper resources of offshore. The only caveat is data sovereignty requirements, and there are EU directives which indicate that AI cannot steal jobs, which you could argue this does. Wow, great insight, Neris. Great insight. And thank you for the correct terminology, accent neutralization. But you're right, I guess cheaper resources of offshore, how do people then navigate some of these things that you've just called out, data sovereignty? And also, I was not aware of that EU AI directive, which is fascinating, isn't it? That's the position that's been taken. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Late to the party? Well, it's an open party, not in that way. Uh, um, but good to see you, Mark. And Keith says it's not just about offshoring; it's more about outsourcing, including the UK. Um, Keith, yeah, great point. Does this mean for you then that it's outsourcing in general, and it doesn't really matter where that outsourcing sits, whether it's onshore or offshore? So is it more then that the question I've posed is the wrong type of question? Maybe if you could elaborate, that would be great, because I think there's something in the you're saying there. Um, it's always an interesting one, isn't it, where we sit with our relationship to offshoring, and there seems to be, much like our kind of working from home, where we sit with that. It seems to be that a lot of companies hybrid, so parts might be offshore, parts might be onshore, parts might be outsourced, parts might be in-house, and it's whatever works best for that company. Oh, there we go. Even a stop clock gets the right time twice a day, eh, Keith? Um, so yeah, very, very, very interesting. Like I say, I would love to have your thoughts, because I have spoken to people that are concerned, and I've also spoken to people who think, this is the market we're in, and you have to be able to adapt, and adapting to an offering that is better than yours for the customer means that you've got to up your game again and again and again. But I think Neris's point, I think, is a cracker. That there are other considerations that I'm sure people go through when they get into that kind of RFP state. But for me, it's like, what's going to happen in 5 years? Are we just going to be in the same situation, and there's going to be ebbs and flows, or is our industry going to fundamentally change, and that we won't have big centers based here because they'll all be offshored? Or has that always been it doesn't have to be so arbitrary that it's going to be all or nothing, and we'll just have very specialized teams in the UK and maybe the HQs. Oh, sorry, Hugo wants to get out. Hold on a sec. He's had enough. Hugo's had enough of my nonsense. Um, I think we've swung back to outsourcing more, says Peter, and into new regions when it's offshore. Technology has the potential to support better, faster offshoring also, but we're still ignoring a lot of the fundamentals of good CX. Great point. So we'll see poor service regardless of service delivery location. What a great point, Peter. Keith says, I suggest we watch the public sector, as I feel that's where the changes could take place first, post-election, of course. Well, yeah, Keith, great point. And perhaps Nathan or Shannon, you might have a view on that. But is Keith right in the it's going to be the public sector that's going to be our kind of, I didn't want to say canary, our yardstick. Brands have to make a choice, says Neris. Brand perception is what stemmed the offshoring we saw in the 90s, but it's still very common practice, particularly with the large BPOs who are servicing the large companies like mobile providers. Yeah, I think if we look at some of the numbers, Neris, right there, the numbers of people we have talking to our customers right now offshore is in excess of the numbers we have here talking to customers within or onshore, if you like. So, yeah, it's interesting. Does brand perception still have as much of a sway on whether a brand chooses to or not, or do they just do it and not say anything about it and hope it doesn't come up? Um, so please do keep your thoughts on this coming. We don't worry, we're getting to the read along. I do just want to thank the CCMA, who t- within the team leader community have given a access to one winner of a competition I'm running in the community, access to one of their online courses. So thank you to the CCMA. It's gone down well in the community, and I will be pushing that throughout the month of June. And of course, I extend an invitation to you and your center to join the community. If you like this type of content, which bounces around the houses a bit, then the team leader community is the place for you. If you don't, then don't join. Okay, so it's that time of the show where you get a brief respite from me talking. 8-second respite, in fact. So it's a read along where we are going through Contact Babel, the UK Contact Center Decision Makers Guide for 2024. And we were looking at agent desktops and systems, and we're continuing. There's a few slides on that, some really interesting information. And hopefully, this one's come up a lot when you're at a conference or you might be talking, and it certainly helped me update my understanding. So this is, how many applications does an agent use within a call? So, and it's split by contact center size. So you've got small, medium, and large contact centers, and then finally the average. And if we look at a large contact center, 20% of the respondents said that their agents were using more than 5 applications. A further 18% were using 5. Another 18% were using 4. 38% were using 3. And 7% were using 2. I've missed a few here. Quite appropriately, the CCMA's outsourcing report released a couple of weeks ago is interesting reading. Yes, about outsourcing. If you can service an email for £5 less with no impact to the customer experience, you have to ask, apart from a commitment to UK resources, why wouldn't you? Very, very good point. I've been doing a lot of work on partial automate. Morris is here. Hello, Morris. You've missed your little shout out, I think. I've been doing a lot of work on partial automation design at the moment, using bits of AI in small parts of interactions to reduce cost and improve experience. So clicking a bit of automation to hand off the customer for a couple of minutes to do details or do a check. Interesting. Oh, Aman, I'd love to have you in the community. I will message you the details straight after this. It would be great to see you in there. Neris, I agree. Hence the use of UK BPOs. Shannon says, Keith, I agree. I already know of a number of public sector contact centers that have turned to outsourcing. The issue they are facing with this is offering the support needed to the staff. Interesting. Real interesting consideration there, Shannon. Yeah, please do keep these comments coming about offshoring and where we're at. I feel like I'm already more informed thanks to you. So when we look at this is a number of applications an agent uses within a call. Does it surprise you at all? I guess if we look at the average, 26% of the contact centers that were surveyed said their agents are using 5 or more than 5 applications just within a call. You know, I run doing this. I use one application, um, but it has like four different sections to it that I navigate around. That's taken some time for me to become okay at it. I'll let you be the judge of whether I navigate it competently. But we're asking a lot of our agents, aren't we, to do within a call. So they have to be able to have a conversation and navigate around five or more systems in a high proportion of the contact centers that are out there. I found that fascinating. And for those of you that were here last week, we know that a big problem that we're facing is the integration, so that we might be able to remove some of those applications. So it seems like this is here to stay, but we are asking people to be able not only to multitask, but to navigate seamlessly whilst also maintaining a conversation. And in some cases, those conversations are becoming more and more complex, right? Um, excuse me. Aman says, I've worked where we use outsourcers. It's difficult to apply the help and support where it's needed. Oh, yeah, it's really true. And taking on from Shannon's point, it's a really interesting consideration. The interaction between, I guess, the on-site, onshore brand, UK, whether it's headquarters or the brand itself, giving support to people offshore. Not sure size of the center is relevant. Industry could be better. Yeah, that's a really good shout. I'm not sure. Yes, it does. I think that is coming, Keith. I think that is coming. I have a smallish team in a scaling company. We have anything from 4 to 6 per call, depending on what the issue query is. Well, Darren, maybe this gives you some reassurance that you are not alone. Definitely not. Um, we're working to reduce this as we scale. Yeah, I guess scaling then gives you the opportunity, right, to revisit your tech stack and the setup that you have. Keith is just responding to Aman here. I can see why, but I have to ask, when you have to support them rather than them taking responsibility themselves. Yeah, good question. I have been on both sides of this fence, and that kind of healthy interaction where as an outsourcer we would have to sometimes clarify updates. You know how fast moving and how much change we have in our industry. There was always a open dialogue between us and our clients, but you could, and it was on occasion questioned, why are you guys up in our grill all the time? Surely this is why we got you, that we don't have to worry about anything. And then it was about agency, right? You know, how much agency did we have to make decisions, and how do you navigate around that? Now, to Keith's point, let's quickly look at after call applications. So how many? It seems like there's far less applications that are needed once the call is finished. But Keith, to your point, here we go. Proportion of inbound call spent navigating between screens and applications by vertical market. So it's not necessarily a like for like, but hopefully, Keith, this gives you what you were suggesting, which is let's have a look at the vertical markets. And this is the proportion of an inbound call that is spent by the agent navigating between screens. And you can see in the services industry, 65% of the respondents said that their agents spend more than 30% of the time on the call navigating, which is very, very high, isn't it? And you can see that's pretty similar to housing and utilities, all the way down to, well, and manufacturing also above 50%. Too many applications, too many demands, too many KPIs. Why can't we consistently invest in tech, says Pete, that brings information to the advisor? Instead of demanding they search for insight to support a resolution. Yeah, you are dead right, Pete. And I think when you think about it, isn't just the systems that we're asking them to navigate around. They've got a lot of KPIs. We're monitoring everything. We are then asking them to consistently deal with customers day in, day out. Let's show we can support them. And I like your that kind of real time in the moment assistance, right? Where there are a lot of applications doing that now, that would bring that information to the advisor, like you say. Notwithstanding, of course, what we chatted about last week, which is there are some very real barriers to companies. They know the problem. They can see it here. They can see it in their center. But having the ability to undo all of that and replace it with a unified system desktop is very, very tricky and a real challenge. Now let's have a look. Navigating. Not fully listening and supporting customers is bad business. I get how difficult it is, but the ROI is both tangible and intangible across improving EX and better CX. Very, very true. Um, Very true, Neris. And Shannon says, I totally agree. The increase in productivity, if this was the case, would be undeniable. I do a lot of work trying to get this exact point of view across, but there are a lot of barriers trying to change the perspective. Well, we can see it here, and you're certainly making a really valid point, Shannon, that I think we would all agree with. And Keith says, this suggests that the single point of contact in some industries is not supported by the systems that hold the information needed. Great point. A big consideration for outsourcing and solutions that could include the use of AI. And I think that backs up Pete's point around bringing information to the advisor at the right time. Um, this is the same information but split by size, and you can see that if you are in a small center, 48% of the respondents said that their team was spending more than 30% of their time of a call navigating between screens. And the average is 40% of the respondents said, yeah. For more than a third, no, maths, Martin. For more than 30% of the time, their team was spent on that call navigating. And certainly from being an agent, I know I found that tricky. I might not necessarily have been fully actively listening because I was going around different systems. And of course, you can manage that through call control, but it's tricky if you really want to be there, to Neris's point, delivering great CX. Peter says, I saw some tech advertising AI that talks into an advisor's ear to offer suggestions based on real-time conversation cues. I can't imagine anything worse than trying to listen to a customer whilst having another voice in my headset. Oh God, that brings back horrible memories. For call monitoring once, there was our team leaders had the ability to intervene. So, but they could do it so that the customer didn't hear, but you did. And it made me think about people in TV where the producers are talking to them. I don't know how they do it. I really don't, because I'm with you. That completely derailed the call instantly for me when I had a team leader saying, "Don't forget to offer them critical illness." You know, it completely destroyed my flow. The first time it happened, I answered the team leader, even for the customer was like, "Sorry, were you talking to me?" I went, "Yeah, I will." Completely out of context. Live coaching is awful. Yeah. Classic tech vendors, AI whisper technology. Is it worse than real-time interaction guidance? Slow down, speed up. Um, just because you can does not mean you should. Very, very true. Otherwise, we'd all be drinking every day, wouldn't we? Starting at 10. Live coaching is awful. Completely agree. It disempowers and distracts the advisor. I can't see any benefits to this. I'm with you 100% on this one. Um, Finally, in this section, we have something that was the bane of my life for a while, and this is callbacks. So, what proportion of customer callbacks are due to downstream failures? So, 15% of the respondents said basically all of them. Uh, that it's all downstream. 37% of the respondents said, well, it's between 0 and 25%. 29% said it's between 26 and 50%. And 19% said 51 to 75%. So, if you look at that red area, they're basically saying we get the majority of our callbacks because of stuff that happens after the contact with the contact center. So it would be interesting to see, and maybe we'll come to that next week, if this then leads to process improvement. What's happening, because I always found that callbacks was such an interesting area. Like, when were we speaking to customers? Why were we either setting callbacks or dealing with callbacks? Why did people feel the need to call us back? Or why were we having to set callbacks to speak to customers? And I don't think we ever really did enough analysis on this. Do you use callbacks right now as a means of finding process improvements, really understanding that customer journey, or is it something that's managed on it is what it is. It's part of the day job. What do we think? Um, It'd be interesting to see. Like I say, this was one of the first things I used to check every day. How many callbacks have we got? Why have we got them? How do we reduce them? Are we tracking when a callback comes, we deal with it, and then it comes back again, double callbacks? What's the correct terminology? Huh? Does that mean callback after initial conversation, so not first call resolution? Why isn't it just calls? Callbacks to me are calls that have been set in the IVR queue. Confused. Let's have a look at what it says. Okay, hang on. We've got the following chart shows the proportion of customer callbacks received about downstream failures. Not all of these will necessarily be caused by agent inaccuracies in data input or process initiation. Systems and processes outside the contact center can fail too, but it would be worth companies investigating how many of these could be explained by a failure within the contact center and calculate how much agent desktop automation could help in avoiding these unnecessary callbacks. So many questions on this. Repeat contacts, proactive callbacks for resolving issues. Who answered this to say it's a failure? What about upstream failure? Yes, perhaps I should have read this bit first before showing the visual. Every day's a school day. Let me just capture that again. So this is a proportion of customer callbacks received about downstream failures. Not all of these will necessarily be caused. Oh, nice. Will not necessarily be caused by agent inaccuracies in data input or process initiation. Systems and processes outside the contact center can fail too, but it would be worth companies investigating how many of these could be explained by a failure within the contact center and calculate how much agent desktop automation could help in avoiding these unnecessary callbacks. Does that answer your question, or does that raise even more? For me, it kind of it raises even more. But we love this, don't we? We love this kind of going through some of these stats, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this session. We've covered some of the big topics. I would just like to remind you, please, if you can think of somebody who would be great to come on and talk about some of the issues during Pride Month. So we've got 3 more uh, shows this month where somebody could come on and talk and help. I know I would definitely like to continue my education in this area. and I hope you would too. So my shout out is for anyone that knows somebody who might be a great person to have come on and talk about LGBTQ plus. Raises more questions for me. Yeah, me too, Peter. But look, thank you all very much. It's been really interesting and enjoyable to spend time with you all. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day. It's been brilliant. And I will see you all next Tuesday. Don't forget, Morris is going to be doing Gal X, where he'll be talking about confusion, something that I can create a lot of. But I really hope you've enjoyed the show, and I will see you next week.